Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of CNF Talks. Today we have with us Julia Prescot, who's Deputy Chair of the National Infrastructure Commission and a co-founder of Meridian. Julia is going to be joining us at the UK and European Wind Energy Policy and Investment Summit being held in London on the 30th of September. Julia, welcome.
Thank you very much indeed, Maurice. Very pleased to be with you.
Delighted to have you with us. Turning to our first question, in your opinion, how realistic are the government's plans to decarbonise the electricity grid by 2030? The quadrupling offshore wind and doubling onshore seem like very ambitious targets. Are they realistic?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly supportive of these targets because clearly we do need to decarbonise the grid. We need to make sure that we can do everything we can to adapt to potential climate change. And so certainly very supportive of these. It's ambitious indeed, and I think we have to bear in mind that a lot of activities will need to take place before it actually happens. I would also, though, put a context of 2030. I mean, we have the binding position of the 2035 carbon budget and also our net zero position in 2050. So if we don't get going very soon, it's going to be a very difficult target to reach. What was particularly heartening, actually, in relation to the new government has been the latest auction that we've seen, the AR6. Because I think that where we saw really a lack of offshore wind bids last year in AR5, in AR6 we've seen these 131 projects coming forwards, and we've seen a great deal of interest by both investors and developers to get engaged. Also beneficial was the different approach we had in relation to CFD pricing and the fact that we saw significant increases. And these are excellent signals to be putting out to the marketplace that the government is really determined to get to 2030. I think there's probably another issue here, which is that investors and developers tend to want to be more engaged where they have a better visibility of a pipeline. If they see projects coming through one after another, they're more enthusiastic to bid. And I hear tell of people being even more enthusiastic to bid on AR7. So what we've got is the pipeline building. What we have is a good regulatory policy in relation to CFD. People are attracted by it. They see new areas like more onshore wind. We only have one small onshore wind project. So putting this all together, indeed an ambitious target, but actually one which is visible and getting up, if I'm not mixing my metaphors too much, ahead of steam in terms of trying to be achieved.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think a very good head of steam. But of course, there are some issues that do need to be addressed. Grid connections and that planning system are often cited as two of the biggest problems when it comes to accelerating investment in wind capacity. Do you think we're on track with solving those two issues?
I mean, there's certainly no time to lose in terms of solving the issues. And again, I come back to the sort of indications that have been made in relation to actually getting there. I mean, I can't say if they're on track or not. That's very much a national grid issue, and it's something that I know a lot of work is taking place at the moment on. But there are two particular issues I'd come up with here. One is in relation to the planning and consenting process and streamlining that. And the second is the need to really adopt a strategic approach in terms of planning future networks spatially. And that is certainly work that I'm aware is underway. Planning, we've seen some very positive progress over the last few announcements that we've seen made. I think in just thinking about specific areas on the planning side, I think we've certainly seen that we've got better positions in relation to coming up with better and better and newer community benefits. We've certainly seen, pace and determination in relation to planning reform, which has been very positive. And honestly, we also need to get quite a critical message across that if we are going to get a decarbonised energy system, we need to be more positive about planning outcomes and the issues around NIMBYism. And I think the current government has certainly made some very positive statements in relation to this. Yes, people need to be heard, but at the same time, we need to have a wider discussion about bringing down energy prices over the longer term.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely right. And hopefully NIMBYism can be headed off in pursuit of the overarching need to address climate change through renewable energy infrastructure. Do you think that the setting up of Great British Energy, the National Wealth Fund, will help catalyse investment into the wind sector? And I suppose a supplementary question here, is there a lack of potential investment? And is there a danger that having this National Wealth Fund and GB Energy set up linked into the infrastructure bank might crowd out private sector investment?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're very new bodies, aren't they? I mean, GB Energy has got a lifetime of weeks so far, so
early days,
the National Wealth Fund.
Yeah.
So we don't know exactly what their mandate is.
Yeah.
But when I'm thinking about it as an investor, one of the big areas of difficulty, both in terms of capital and also the cost of capital, has been during the development period of many projects. As we know, the further you go down the project life cycle, the more likely it is that projects will actually be attracting investment, attracting money, risks have reduced. When we're right at the beginning of the project life cycle, the risks are at their most extreme. They are difficult to manage, and I think that what we can see is particular benefit in these areas from entities such as this. I mean, I know that that's not their only reason for being, but I do think that there's quite. I mean, we were talking also about GB Energy and the Crown Estate and the partnership there. That's looking at actually supporting and speeding up the front end investment into major projects, and I think it's that particular area. I mean, in a way, it's all very well to say, we need this gigawattage or we need that gigawattage, but it's a question of what happens after that. They don't just sort of magically appear. And so if we can have investment in that development period, it's going to be very important. And again, I was particularly heartened by the announcement, this is not necessarily in the wind sector, but by the announcement that there will be more development capital going into Sizewell, because I think that again recognises the critical nature of this early stage investment and also the availability of financing for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That tie-up between GP Energy and the Crown Estate clearly seems to be a good innovation. I did hear one or two voices raised saying, well, that this wasn't quite necessary for the industry. But I think overall, your point is that if you reduce the upfront risk, you're much more likely to get projects underway, and therefore, hopefully, that will work out quite well. But there's still a couple of other impediments, aren't there, to the government's plans? I mean, one of those is the supply chain and the fact that wind energy is growing exponentially across the world. And we are only one of many countries trying to get people in the supply chain to supply to us. How do you see that developing? Do you think that, is there a strategy the government can have to help improve that, or the industry?
And again, this is very early days in terms of industrial strategy, but I would echo your point that it's a very competitive marketplace. But I suppose I go on to the other side and say, what do the supply chain want to see, and what will get them involved in the marketplace? And they will want to see a real and sustainable pipeline coming forwards. They will want to know that the people they're planning to contract with have the finance available. and that the planning and consenting periods are going to
Mm.
be not very extended. The one
Yeah.
thing, if you've got a very competitive supply chain that puts them off, to be frank, is delay. And
Yeah.
so, to the extent that people see this as a really quite active marketplace, an effective marketplace, then
Yeah.
I think that we're more likely to attract in both the skills and also the supply chain projects.
Mm.
And I think that's one particular area. I think the other thing is, I mean, I think I mean, I probably ought to just say that the NIC, I mean, that's more of a personal view because the NIC doesn't make any
No,
recommendations on
of course.
skills and supply chains.
Yeah.
But what we do need to see, as well as that certainty and stability going forwards, is really making it clear that it's not going to, it's being done at a reasonable price. And
Mm.
again, harking back to the beginning, change in AR6 means that we are, that there is a recognition that with the difficulties we've had with inflation over the past few years, that this is actually being factored into the cost of delivery.
Yeah.
And so supply chain wants to have good customers.
Mm.
And I think we can be good customers in a number of different ways.
Yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. I suppose that the final issue that people raise is about the skill shortages in the UK, and I know the government's got various initiatives underway, a skills body that they're
Mm.
setting up, and so on. Do you think that that can all be done quickly enough to support the efforts on wind energy?
I would very much hope so. I think one of the things that we've again, going back to what I was saying before, is we've got to be an attractive place for people to come and work.
Yeah,
There is a huge workforce in the offshore construction industry. We've got to make sure that we can actually attract that workforce in, and also attract the project managers in. And if you can
yeah,
be clear and visible about what you're planning to do over time, you you know you bring people in.
yeah,
It is difficult though to create instant engineers, instant project managers. It takes time and effort to work, and these skills
yeah.
initiatives we've been hearing about are very beneficial in that respect.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, we'll be discussing these and many other related themes at the conference on the 30th of September in London. So, to our viewers, I very much hope you'll be able to join us to hear the other discussions that we're going to be having, to hear more from Julia as well. And if you want more information, do have a look at the City and Financial website, www.cityandfinancial.com. Only remains for me to say thank you so much, Julia, for joining us today.
Thank you very much indeed, Maurice. Very enjoyable. Thank you.